Welcome back to Don's Life, welcome to the channel, thanks for joining today. Hopefully you've seen the video already where we installed this sport bar on my EGR roll track. This is a prototype sport bar. It's not the final version that's going to be available for purchase, but we do have a couple issues that we are going to try and resolve today. First issue being the third brake light. We never did wire it up. The harness wasn't long enough. We're going to take care of that today. We're going to tap into the brake light circuit for the existing brake light, which is kind of obstructed now. And speaking of obstructions, the second thing we need to resolve is we have the camera for the digital mirror that's blocked by this cross member. The cargo camera is okay, so that's good, but we need to resolve that camera issue. And I think one thing we could do is relocate it. Let's go. So first things first, we're going to take the sport bar off. All right, like a one-man army, no help needed. Actually, it's pretty light, but here we have it, it's off. We have the third brake light here, but oh, what's this? They sent me one with a longer harness. So this will at least be long enough now to come out of the sport bar. We'll have to extend it still, so we'll do some soldering to run it inside the cab from under the floorboards up, because we don't want any water penetration. We'll have to wire it somewhere up in here. I still don't know what that looks like. I'm hoping to not have to take off the valence. I've had to do it before, but it just requires a little more work. And then I've got to seal all the connections where the bolts come through so we don't have water leakage from that. So right now it's sealed up. I'm hoping not to have to take it off, but if I have to, I have to. But what probably interests you more is we have a product from Camera Source. What they do is they make relocation kits for a number of different vehicles, including the GMC Sierras. So we can relocate the camera all the way back to the end of a box cover if we have one. We can relocate it higher, lower. In this case, we're gonna put it under the sport bar. So I'm not sure how it's gonna look. I think it'll be pretty close to the original because I'm not really changing the distance much. However, if you had it on the back of your box cover or your canopy, whatever your preferred term is, I think that it would be kind of neat because it'd be so far back, you would get a really good view behind you. Either way, we are going to disconnect that camera, use that signal and extend to our new camera, which will be about, I don't know, 8 inches behind that one. So I think now the second task is for us to pull down the headliner. Ooh, look at all the recycling I gotta drop off. Pull down the headliner here. So we have to undo some stuff in this area, pull down the headliner, gain access to the camera plug, try and figure out where we're gonna tap the back brake light or disconnect it, or both, I'm not sure yet. I don't mind the third brake light staying on. My worry is if I just tap it, we'll get some kind of electrical overload situation and we'll just get an error message. I'm gonna try that first, I think. Kind of figuring this one out as we go. But when it comes to the camera, they do send you a complete set of instructions for the applicable vehicle. But in this case, I'm doing two things at the same time. So you'll get to see their process according to the manual, and then you'll get to see my process for this third brake light for the sport bar. Okay, here's the game plan. We need to remove this guy here. We normally would remove just this piece here if we were just doing the camera, but because I have to get all the way back to the middle behind the headliner, I'm gonna have to take off this trim piece. So that involves pulling this down. I'm also gonna have to do it on the other side because I need the headliner to drop a little further. But if you were just doing the camera relocation, I think it's clipped up somewhere in here. So you just have to pry this down a bit and get to the blue plug that's there, extend it, and then go and run your camera. We're gonna have to bring it down here. And then we're gonna pop this cap off. We'll lift the carpet a little bit and we'll see where there's a grommet under the floorboards. And then we'll run that wire all the way through. In this case, we're gonna come up, we'll go into the sport bar and then to the new camera location, which we're still gonna figure out. First, let's get this headliner hanging down. So I'm gonna have to undo that side as well as this side. Okay, headliner is down. If you ever have to do this, there are two clips way back there by the dome lights. So if you can reach your arm down there and just put a little downward pressure, those will come out and that will make this drop down a lot easier. Now here's our camera. You can see how close it is to the end here. And then we have this harness. So we may have lucked out because this feeds the the brake light. So we can just figure out which wire out of these is the third brake light. We can pull this loom back a little bit and we can tap it right in here. And if I want to disconnect it all together, I could just do a nice clean cut and then solder my new harness into this area here. So that's pretty exciting and convenient. I probably didn't have to drop this down as far as I did, but having it be able to hang this far is also more convenient. Okay guys, here's the plan. I'm going to try the third brake light now while I have this harness right here. To do that, I just extended the wires temporarily with these tester leads from my voltmeter, and we are just going to touch them on the different pins in the harness. But first I need somebody to push the brake. My leg's not long enough to do this and that. I have an ingenious solution. This snow brush is going to push the brake for me. Brake should be on. Is it on? Yes, it is. Okay, so now we're going to ground this out and figure out which one of these is the brake light lead. So there's the ground. We're lucky these pins are really large, so I can get these in there. Not that one, not that one. There we go. It is the purple wire, and we don't appear to have any flashing. So I think I'm going to keep them both connected for now. So now we just have to tap the ground wire there, tap the brake wire, and then we can hook up the camera, we can button all this up, and then we can start running our wires where we need them. All right, things are moving along good. We've got these wires tapped. I'm happy with that. We have a lot of headroom here. No pun intended. Well, maybe pun intended. We still have to connect the camera, the extension cable anyway, to this connector right here. So we'll do that in a moment. But I just want to plan out the length of these wires for the third brake light. We have about 6 feet when we go all the way down here to this area. We still got to pop that panel off and have a look under there. And then it's about 6 feet back to the bar. I checked the third brake light already. It has enough wiring to get us down to this area, but I'll just cut that wire at 12 feet and then we should be set. So let's get this wire cut, pop that panel off, look for the grommet, feed everything through, including the camera extension wire. Then we can button all this back up at some point, and then we will try to bring our wires up nice and clean into this area. You can see a wire back there. Maybe you can. For the roll track, trust me, it's back there somewhere. We can secure our wire to that because it's a nice sturdy cable, and then it'll keep all our cable management nice and neat, because the last thing I want is when I'm driving, if there's any wire vibrating or tapping against the box or the cab, you'd probably hear that. I don't want that. So yeah, we're getting close. I'd say we're about a third of the way there. Sorry about the mess. It is winter after all. I'm going to pop this up just by hand, because that's how I roll. My fingers are so accustomed to popping trim panels off that they're immune to any damage. Pull this back a little more. So the grommet we want isn't actually in this area. It is back there. See those 3 little bumps? It's really hard to focus on that. Back there. But at least you know where that is. So let's just get the wires down to this area. We'll start with hooking up our camera extension cable. Okay, we've got all the wires in the loom here. Now we have to get this connector through that grommet in the floor. I've measured it with this step drill bit here, and it's the second from the last, but I don't like how big that hole is going to be, so I'm going to stretch this grommet that I just happen to have around here, so when I go to fill it with silicone, I have less of an area to fill, and I think this is just a better look and a better seal. So I'm going to try and stretch this around here. Shouldn't be too hard. Kind of rolls on there. Perfect. So now when I fill that with silicone, it will be much easier and cleaner. But for now, we're going to have to drill the hole and feed this wire through. So my plan was to drill from the bottom, but that's not going to work because the frame rail is a little bit in the way. So I'm going to use this 90-degree angle attachment. Just trying to focus for you there. And then I got this extension here to go to the drill. And the carpet's actually going to put the weight on it for me. And we just got to watch what we're doing and try to drill through. So a little update for you. This grommet idea is a no-go because that piece that I drilled through is much thicker than this could accommodate. I also deviated from center a little bit, not a big deal. We're just gonna have to use more silicone than I originally intended. But actually silicone is what the instructions tell you to do. Running the cable is relatively easy. You can just tuck it in behind the plastic here. Probably see it right there. It is far away from this edge. I had somebody comment about the rear camera for my dash cam and how the wire was at risk of getting sliced or chafed in this area here because he said that I had run it inside the weather stripping. But look, it's like 3 inches back, 2.5 inches back from this edge. I don't know what that guy's talking about, but again, I try to show as much detail as possible. So if you watch videos thoroughly, if that subject matter at the time interests you, you'll see that I'm pretty meticulous with this stuff and I take those things into consideration. Not to say I'm not going to make mistakes once in a while, I certainly do, but my dash cam rear camera is not at risk of being ruined. So now we can just feed this down. Probably hard to see on camera, but it fits. I just got to feed it all the way under the truck. All right, the dirty jobs are done. Now we get to work on the sport bar. The good news is, my friends, I tested the camera with the wiring. Everything works. I tested the brake light. It works. You'll have to see all of that later. That's part of the suspense. But we are going to work on the sport bar now. So a couple things. Here's our brake light. We're going to attach it pretty soon. It's going to go in that spot right there with the screws that look like this. And they have these little red caps to keep it all nice and professional looking. But what I want to do, because we're going to be adding lighting here, and it's already here in the Don's Life garage, we just have to set it up. I also want to rewire my switching, so that's going to be a big video coming up, but we're going to take, well, you'll have to see. Now, because I don't want to have to keep taking the sport bar on and off every time I do something, I'm going to drill some holes in some special places. One of those special places is going to be in one of these plastic caps. There's going to be a little hole that I drill on the side. That's so lighting, wiring can come in. So whatever I mount up top here, all the wiring can come in one side, then it can go into the tube and come down. So we'll be drilling a hole there. So this grommet is the perfect size for the wires that I'm going to run down there. So I'll have all the wiring come down this side, which is why I reminded myself to leave a wire in here. So when I add my lighting, I can fish it through this hole that I'm going to make, attach it to the wire that's going to be back here, and then that will already be pre-run, ready to pull out of the sport bar here. So I don't have to keep taking this off. And there's a couple more surprises, but I'm not going to talk about them right now. But let me just flip this bar around so I can drill the hole that I need on that side, install this brake light and that chase wire, and drill the hole for the future lighting. Okay, things are really coming along now. Let me show you a couple things. So on the passenger side, I drilled the hole for the wiring. You saw a little bit of that in the time lapse. And I took the grommet that was on this side and I moved it over to this side because I have more wire to put through there still. This is just some pre-wire. I've got a metal wire here that I can use as a pull for when I need to pull my other wiring in there later on. So that's all set up. But I wanted you to see right here, I marked where center is, but a little bit further ahead on the top of the sport bar because our camera needs to have the cabling go in here somewhere and there's no holes anywhere nearby and I don't want a bunch of cables hanging out. So we're going to have it go in there. This will be on there with some very strong adhesive and it'll be right in the center. And I think it'll look, you know, pretty intentional or kind of factory, best as we can anyway. I mean, ideally you'd want some type of cutout built into here, but it's not at that level yet. This is just a prototype. So I'm just gonna punch right there, then drill it, and make sure it's just big enough for this cable. I put this little grommet on here, I just stretched it over the tip, and it looks like it's going to be the right size to make this work. So wish me luck. Well, I think we have it. The camera's on there. If you wonder why I stuck it to the sticker, it's because the sticker was on there really, really good, and the adhesive I'm using sticks really good to that sticker. So I just did that, and then I didn't want to scratch this, so I cut the sticker away, and you pretty much can't tell that it's there. So I think we are ready to lift the sport bar up, connect the brake light, which we'll have to do a little bit of soldering, and then we'll plug in the camera. We'll cable manage all the wires in there. Then we should be able to test this out and wrap it up. Don't worry, I came prepared. I shaved these down, so they should be able to fit for those bolts I hadn't done up yet. Different video. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, it's a different video. Had everything to do with this prototype bar and mounting it for the first time. We are so close to the end. We have our third brake light here ready to go. We have our camera plug. See if I can do this with one hand. There, that's plugged in. We're just going to bundle these wires up, tuck them inside here, and then put the brake light in. Well, 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 we got it done. Third brake light, extended camera. We have a wire right here, which I don't know how we could avoid that, but it's pretty snug. I got wires coming out the other end. Let me show you. This is completely temporary. I've just got them tucked in there. I can loosen a bolt and pull those back out. They're not pinched. I checked. We're good. There's a foam barrier there and a little cavity, so no pinching, but we are going to need to run these wires eventually, just like that side, in some wire loom down and then to a switch panel. And I do have some more wiring that's still got to come down here, which is why we have this wire here to pull that through. Now I know you want to see the brake light, so let me go put on the brakes. Piece of cake, right? And I think the camera looks pretty good there. There is a bracket that they ship with it, but it wouldn't work in my application. It'd have to go on top of the sport bar, which we're not going to do. Well, let's let you see for yourselves, and we will look at the rear view mirror once we pull the truck out. Well, there we go. We accomplished our mission. We got the third brake light going. We have the new relocated camera. I'm gonna leave it right there. I might not have to change the angle, but again, the bracket that came with it wouldn't work in my application. I definitely want to recommend checking out Camera Source if you've got a camera that you're looking to relocate. They do it for a lot of different vehicles. That's where I bought mine, but definitely check them out. I'll leave a link in the video description below. But if you like today's video, hit that like button. Please consider subscribing, and we'll talk to you next time.